Okay, welcome everyone. Clark County Council is convened in council time Wednesday, September 24th, 2025. Let's start with the roll call.
Counselor Young,
Here.
Counselor Belcott,
Present.
Counselor Fuentes,
Here.
Counselor Little,
Here.
and Chair Marshall.
Here,
Thank you.
are there any amendments to the agenda?
None today.
No amendments. Thank you. Okay, we'll open it up for public comment, and just a reminder to folks, your time is limited to 3 minutes, and persons addressing the council will not make statements or remarks that concern private activities, lifestyles, or beliefs of others, including individual county employees or elected officials. Topics unrelated to the business of the county or professional duties and performances of county employees. Persons addressing the council will refrain from conduct, statements, or remarks that are defamatory to county staff, uncivil, rude, vulgar, profane, or otherwise disruptive to conducting county business. If you do so, you will be asked to stop, and it may result in a recess or adjourning the meeting. And just a reminder to folks, during council time, just keep your comments to agenda items only. And if you are commenting on the minutes, do so only for any corrections to the minutes. We're not going to be rehashing any agenda items from previous council meetings. So with that, is anyone signed up?
Shavana McEwen.
Good afternoon. It always surprises me how loud this is. Good afternoon, Clark County Councilors. My name is Shavana McEwen, and I live on the east side of town near the Burt Bridge Creek Elementary School. I'm a veteran of the U.S. Navy. Hoo-yah, Counselor Belcott. I'm a homeowner. I pay my taxes each year on time, and I'm proud to call, and I send my kid to public school. So I'm very proud to call Vancouver in Clark County my home. I'm not here to berate you, to call you names, or to question your place on this dais. You get enough of that as it is, so I'm not going to do that. I want to acknowledge in 2023, a study out of the University of San Diego determined that of elected officials serving near San Diego, 66% of electeds reported being threatened or harassed, and 67% of respondents also believe that threats or harassment are a routine part of public service. So I'm definitely not here to tell you that threats of public violence don't exist, that they're not a real problem and shouldn't be addressed or even condemned by society at large. Instead, I'm here to thank you for your courage to run for office, to serve as an elected leader in our community, and to risk your own well-being to better our community as a whole. Currently, at this very moment, there are 9,000 of our neighbors who are experiencing homelessness. Residents are facing eviction, food shortages, and rising gas and grocery prices. We have a bridge that serves as a major corridor for goods for the entire country that is in dire need of a replacement, and some of the worst air quality in the entire state. Almost 40,000 people in our community are living below the poverty line, and every once in a while we even get the chance to be a statewide leader in the number of children who are diagnosed with measles. Maybe I'm a little daft because I didn't grow up here, but I'm confused and frankly deeply troubled to know that taxpayer dollars are funding a rewrite of a proposed resolution that has no place being introduced to this body. As a resident of this county, I'm asking you to focus instead on how we make our county a healthy, thriving, and vibrant community, not one that brings partisan, divisive politics into this room and into the workloads of county staff. There are many people in our community who are struggling, and we need to be spending our time in a different way. I understand that the Home Rule Charter gives you authority to conduct public hearings on matters of public concern that assist you in performing your legislative responsibilities, but again, this does not entail bringing partisan bully pulpit politics into your role. Your jobs are hard enough as it is, and I do thank you for your public service, but please do not get distracted and pulled into the divisive garbage that is crippling our federal government's ability to function. I believe your intentions are to actually oversee the public policy and activities of the county and not get distracted by the latest shiny current events that any one party waves in front of our faces. Thank you for paying attention to the matters that matter here in Clark County.
Thank you.
Kimberly Goheen. Albin?
Out of all due respect for that speaker, I believe she was off topic. But then again, when we're on topic and start off that way, our words, because we were given free thought and we have the right to speak, tend to go off onto something else, not just that agenda per se. And that's, I'm really surprised you didn't cut her off, but then I know why you didn't. Okay? I know why you cut me off. There's a difference. I also served 6 years honorably here in Vancouver, Washington, USA, where I was born. So again, I said that today is the second week that Charlie Kirk was assassinated, murdered. He was bullied most of his life by haters. Yeah, it needs to stop. When did it start? When criminal Biden opened up the borders? Not sure. Maybe before then. But I'll tell you this, you are not going to take people's rights to speak, no matter if we have differences. We are here and we have a right. And if I want to speak on those minutes, I will do so. Today I won't. I didn't bring my paperwork or anything. It's down in my truck. With that said, it's not just that we can speak to the minutes and have for corrections. That's not what our job. Our job is to read those minutes, and if there's something on there that we can speak about, we will. It's a law. And if you ever cut anybody off when they're on agenda, which the minutes are on, it's a violation of the law and hopefully criminal, and I hope you do it to me anymore. God will provide an attorney for me. I'm not worried about that. So I want to speak more about Charlie Kirk. It was a specific action that was presented and proposed to you. It was a proclamation. And for some reason now I'm seeing a little tie-in with proclamations, possibly money in the middle, and then somebody that gets to receive the proclamation. In these two cases, mine and what Michelle brought up, I believe were plagiarized. You stole our idea, you misconformed it to your own agenda, and then we have to sit here and eat it. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to eat it anymore. I'm going to take my time, which I don't have a lot of, but that's because I'm trying to be busy. It's my duty. I am going to be concise, and I'm going to report you all for everything that you've done. I'm going to put it in writing, and I'm going to deliver it. And that will be the end of this tyrannical reign. You guys have no business being part of the Board of Health either. You pushed propaganda today. It was horrible. God bless
Thank
Charlie
you.
Kirk.
Time's up.
Carmen De Leon?
Well, go figure. It's me again. Carmen De Leon, and I go by Mello. So we got plenty to talk about here. I guess homelessness is okay to talk about, even if I don't see it on here, eh? Or is just preferred company gets to say what they want and we get shut down for nothing? So we say, oh, political violence? Why are you so scared? Are you like the mayor who threatened to put me in handcuffs for speaking freely? Maybe that's why some of you politicians are scared. I feel sorry because to me, it's like making a proclamation that says the sky is blue. I know the sky is blue. I know violence is a coward's answer. Solution to every problem is I'll arrest you, just like the mayor. I don't like what she said, arrest her. I don't like what she said, we're gonna give you 90 days out of here. What about you guys abusing us? I already know that what happened with Charlie Kirk is wrong. I'm not gonna go over that. I already said that. Do I have to repeat in case somebody didn't understand? You don't mock children who watch their dads die. You don't make a joke of it. It's an insult to our own society that we cannot behave as humans and talk our problems through instead of getting, oh, go get some handcuffs. Oh, point of order, shut her up. Wah. That's part of the job. Anyways, it says here, number 7, to stay on topic, it says work requests. So I'm making the request because I don't know how many times that we've talked about Clark County has almost 500,000 people, and yet just a handful of us show up to talk. And we try to get shut down and arrest. You don't try to arrest me, but the city of Vancouver definitely would be overjoyed to see me go to jail for speaking freely. So, my request is for more of the public to show up. And as you know, on the 3rd Tuesday, we get more people. All the other cities have a weekly meeting in the evening. Why don't you? We got the biggest population in Clark County, but the smallest amount of evening time things. And I know she doesn't like being here 12-hour days. That's why I'm saying, okay, how about the 1st and 3rd Tuesday in the evening? So she won't have a 12-hour day. The 1st and 3rd Wednesday, they could come in at noon and compensate for the extra hours that it takes to do 2 evening a month here to get more people in here, because like I've told you before so many times, and she has, where's everybody at? Is it because when they show up, they get fear of being sent to jail and they get threatened? We're the ones who are supposed to be feeling safe, and I'm the one who's scared. That's why Officer Simmons said, Carmen, calm down, Carmen. You're not going to go to jail for speaking. Thank God
Thank you.
for
Your
Officer
time's up.
Simmons.
Nancy Grant.
Good morning, councilors. Charlie Kirk was a political leader and a faith leader. He was courageous and he was effective. He told the truth and showed us all how to engage with others we disagree with. And he did it in a kind way. He did it with love and without hate. Charlie deserves the recognition shown in Commissioner Belcott's resolution. It does not deserve to be watered down or diminished in any way. I respectfully ask that you also be courageous and approve Michelle Belcott's resolution as is, and that you do it now and not wait until October. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Worthy.
Good afternoon, Mike Worthy. I live at 12208 Northwest 48th Court in Vancouver. I'm here to talk about the quiet zone. It's on the agenda later today. And I wanted to say it's been a while since I've appeared before the county council on any matter, but it was 13 years ago that I came to my first meeting to talk about the quiet zone proposal made by the proponents in our neighborhood. So it's a long story of interactions between Burlington Northern and Amtrak and county staff about how to evolve a proposal to silence the train whistles that plague our neighborhood multiple times a day. So I want to say, first of all, that I appreciate your having it on your agenda today. I also want to say that county staff currently is doing an outstanding job evaluating the circumstance and negotiating what I can't begin to understand as the politics between the parties. If I tried to understand why Burlington Northern takes the view they take, or why Amtrak looks at it the way they do, or why the county's protocol require the steps that are seemingly called for, frankly, I can't get my head around it all. And I'm not the principal proponent in our neighborhood. Our homeowners association has a subcommittee that works only on this issue for 13 years. So I wanted to say I appreciate your hearing and having this on your agenda. I appreciate the work of county staff because it is the most proactive, articulate effort that's been made so far to advance the notion. And I'm very hopeful that you can see the logic in what is clearly a safe alternative to cross the tracks at that location and could dramatically enhance the lifestyle of those of us that live on the tracks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, there's nobody else signed up, but is there anybody, Rob
One more.
Anderson?
Hi there, Rob Anderson. There are times when things are clear and so important to the fabric of our country that you would think that this would potentially be a moment for that. This would be a time when those in elected office will do the right thing. They'll set aside, partisan or political voice, and they'll speak in one voice in a bipartisan way. Political violence is wrong, and the assassination of Charlie Kirk, in no uncertain terms, is condemned. You had that opportunity last week, and you decided not to do that. You made the political calculations instead of siding with basic humanity, all men are created equal and deserve the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You decided to kind of wet your finger and stick it into the air and play politics. It was simple, even I thought a restrained resolution based on the Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, Constitution, shouldn't be controversial. And no matter if you liked Charlie, didn't like Charlie, seemed like a no-brainer, there's no place for political violence. And we condemn the assassination of Charlie Kirk, but you refused to do that straight up. Instead, we have a draft resolution that removed, the version I saw removed Kirk as a religious leader, which that's a big part of who he was, especially if you saw the memorial. It downplays the Bill of Rights. It diluted the message by adding unrelated, even though tragic, events, changes political violence to all violence. That's what I saw, which really guts the whole premise of it, delays the presentation till October 21st, and really is tone deaf to the widespread celebration, justification, even downplaying that we heard earlier of this, the importance of this. And those that say that this is a waste of time, I'm pretty sure they didn't say that during the Pride resolutions. Erica Kirk stunned the nation on Sunday by proclaiming forgiveness to the person that shot her husband. That's grace, that's class. I hope that you show the same. I hope that you, with one voice, condemn all political violence, make it clean, and the assassination of Charlie Kirk. You have another opportunity. I hope you don't miss it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the room who'd like to speak? Okay.
Please come forward. Oh, I think we have a couple.
Hi, my name is Virginia Griffiths. I live in Vancouver, Washington, and we were all devastated by Charlie's death. Charlie stood for God, country, family, and freedom of speech. He was a Christian martyr, a special person who deserves a special recognition, not to be watered down with other issues. And the Bible says, blessed are the people whose Lord is God. And if you remember that, you will make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else who'd like to?
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Brittany Lee. I am a lifelong resident of Clark County, over half a century. This is my community. I'm a single mom. This is where I raised my 5 kids. I love this county, and I want it to be good. I want it to be peaceful for all people. I'm here to ask that you support Michelle Belcott's resolution to condemn the death of Charlie Kirk. He was a great man. He was slandered by many, but regardless of that, what your opinion is, a civil society is a society that condemns the death of its opponents. In any banana republic, every person will condemn the death of their friends, but they will not condemn the death of their opponents. Let's be a civil society and condemn the death of someone whom many people do not like. I personally do. And I just ask for your support. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else, please raise your hand. Okay.
Please come forward.
Please state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Damon. I live over in the Moongate community, and I was here to speak on.
I'm sorry. Speak in the.
Can you hear me? So I live over in the Moongate community, and I wanted to speak on behalf of the Quiet Zone. So this effort has been going on for almost 13 years, as Mike has mentioned. And about 2017, we did receive the Quiet Zone approval from the Federal Railroad Association. So in the steps of the process for getting a quiet zone, that is the big step, and that's kind of the hurdle you have to get past. At this point, we just need to get the approval of the UTC to approve that this median can actually be installed on the Washington roads. That's just an administrative, procedural step that needs to be taken. And on behalf of my community, I am pleading with you all to please prioritize this effort because for example, the city of Vancouver, they have multiple quiet zones. It's only taken the city of Vancouver about 3 years on average to get a quiet zone installed from start to finish. We're on 13 years here in Clark County. So, I don't know what exactly is going on, but we currently have been working with Ken Latter and Kevin and Scott Sawyer and now Paul Morin, and they have been doing an excellent job. And I'm just requesting on behalf of my neighborhood that you please prioritize this effort and we can finally get this done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the room? Okay, we do have one person online. Caller, you've been requested to unmute your phone. Please do so. State your name for the record and go ahead with your comments. Rick Vermeers, please go ahead with your comments.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. My name is Rick Vermeers. I would like to thank the counselors who modified Counselor Belcott's original resolution regarding Charlie's assassination. While the modification is abhorrent, it definitely brightens the line between the group of counselors who wish to use this to promote their woke ideology versus recognizing the sentiment of the community represented by Counselor Belcott. The assassination of Charlie Kirk was a pivotal moment in time. The council has failed to recognize this. Citizens will long remember your attempt to downplay this assassination in future elections. You have provided a significant rallying point for those of us who value conservative ideals. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to, is online?
We have one more person. Caller, you've been sent a request to unmute. Please do so. State your name for the record and go ahead with your comments.
Hello, my name is Marilyn Rogenkamp and I am from Camas, Washington. I am calling in just to ask you to approve Michelle Belcott's resolution concerning Charlie Kirk as it was written without your modifications. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on with the agenda, old business, approval of the minutes of September 17th, 2025. Are there any corrections?
Chair,
Yes.
I just see a misspelling of one of the public commenters' name, Tanya. I think it's TonyA. Just got that.
Okay, thank you. Any other changes? With that change, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Move to approve the minutes from September 10th with the slight modification to correct Tanya Enger's misspelling.
The 17th.
Excuse me, the 17th, yes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. 4.2, draft condemning political violence resolution. Jordan, can you summarize where we're at?
Yeah. Good afternoon, counselors. So last week, as you'll recall, Councilor Belcott brought forward a resolution proposal to the council. Council had a number of requests for modifications to the draft. And so based on that, including adding in Melissa Hortman's name, request to talk about school violence as well under the umbrella of political violence, and also kind of make it broader and discuss how the council will, what the resolution is for council moving forward, which is to, work together, promote a sense of unity. A couple of the other requests that council had in terms of the framing of the resolution. Based on that feedback, I have put this second draft together, and so present this to you for any potential modifications or potential approval. The other thing I will note is that October 21st is our regular meeting schedule, but we do have an additional meeting that was scheduled for October 14th. That will be the next full council meeting, and so this could be moved up to the 14th as well. So I wanted to make a note of that as I had the 21st written in, and a couple folks have commented on that. So it could be a week sooner based on the council's schedule if you do approve a version of the resolution today.
Thank you, Jordan. And could you summarize what our process is with any resolution as far as bringing it to adoption?
Sure. So oftentimes we will get resolution requests or proclamation requests from either a counselor or an outside entity. If there are two counselors who are interested in moving it forward, it would go to council here on a Wednesday council time for approval. Sometimes council approves as initially drafted. Sometimes counselors have edits that they would like to provide. And so those are taken down, and a new draft is put together. And then based on that, it can sometimes be an iterative process of getting further feedback from council, or once council feels like they have a draft that majority is in support of, then that is drafted, and then we move that to a full council meeting for final adoption.
So it's never adopted at a council time meeting. It always goes to the full council.
That is correct.
Meeting.
Yeah, and a full at a regular council meeting is when a proclamation or resolution is formally adopted. This is just your direction that you would like to move forward, or for more work to occur on a document.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Are there any comments from the council?
I have a comment, Chair.
Yes, please.
I just want to address a couple of the speakers talking about resolutions, and I know, Jordan, you just touched on that, but I also want to bring it to some people's attention that aren't familiar. The council put together a resolution related to George Floyd. So this is something that's not out of the ordinary. I know that it was mentioned that, some people perceive, attacks or threats as routine, but the assassination and murder of Charlie Kirk is not routine. And I think that anyone who is elected or running for a political position, if they knew that they were going to be assassinated, they would not run. One of the things that I initially noticed on the changes that were made to my original amendment was that religious leader was removed. Some may argue that Charlie Kirk was a religious leader over political. If you watch some of the service clips, or you watch the service in its entirety, a lot of people talked about that. And I watched some of Charlie's YouTube videos because I knew a little bit about him, but not a lot, really, honestly. And if you watch his speeches at these college campuses, he is clearly talking about Christ, God, different religions, different aspects of religion. It was a huge part of what he was and what he did. I see a lot of things that are clumped all together and a list of different tragedies that aren't even related to Charlie Kirk's assassination at all. School shootings are awful. That's actually part of the reason why I got my start in politics, was because of my kids and the schools. I ran for school board. They're horrific, horrific things. And I would be supportive of doing an individual dedicated resolution to school shootings or the Hortman's murder. That was tragic and horrible too, but this is unrelated to both of those things. In the original, I asked to reject violence and stay peaceful. And just these things that are in there are unrelated. Also, the original was simple, and the amendment adds 2 common violent school shootings and council plans. The original brings us together by condemning Kirk's killings and calling for peace. I mean, what was pretty simple, short and sweet, was expanded with all these other issues that were in there. And like I mentioned, Councilor Fuentes, if you wanted to bring something to council for the Hortmans, I would 100% agree with that. And bringing it back to council on the 14th of October, I think would be a perfect time, because that was a bipartisan decision to recognize Charlie Kirk on October 14th. I think that would be a wonderful day of recognition. So those are my comments initially.
Other comments? Go ahead.
Yeah, like I said last meeting, thank you, Councilor Belcott, for bringing this forward. We really appreciate that. I would be open to passing the original one or a modified one that maybe adds the phrase after Charlie Kirk, a national political and religious leader and advocate, if that makes it better, or any changes we can make. But yeah, I want to thank you. I want to thank others who helped put that draft forward, to Jordan to trying to make it better, and to the chair for making an initial statement when this happened. We really appreciate that. There's some articles and social media posts that suggested that most of the counselors here did not care or even tried to remove the name of Charlie Kirk, which did not happen if you listen to the to our proceedings. We tried to make it better. We want to make it strengthened. The statement actually at the end didn't have anything proactive that the county could do. So that was one of the asks, to add a proactive statement of what could we do to make it better. It's a difficult thing for the county to try to do something proactive, but that was, I think, Jordan's attempt here to strengthen it. So it's just unfortunate that we have to do this. When people get so frustrated that they have to use violence to solve something that only divides us more, it makes the problem worse. So I wish we didn't have to do this, but I am open to passing multiple resolutions or making that modification that I suggested. I don't know if that would actually alleviate your concerns or make some further modifications.
Other comments?
I was going to say I'm not opposed to making that change either. I really don't know a whole lot about Charlie Kirk. He was a religious person in the community. I'm okay with putting that in there. I think I'm okay with the majority of the changes in this. The one thing I would suggest is considering from starting on line 29. I would change it. To me, this, in all honesty, this to me is more focused on political violence, and I think it should stay that. And I am totally okay with doing additional additional resolutions against different forms of violence specifically, but I do think that this particular incident that is leading to us passing this resolution was an act of political violence. And I disagree. I think that the events that took place with Melissa Portman, who I also didn't know much about at all prior to our conversation on this, it was also a political assassination. I don't care who it is, and I don't care what their political beliefs are. People should not be murdered based on their political views, period. So I'm okay leaving that in there. It's a recent event that has similarities in that it is a political assassination and it needs to stop. So what I would suggest is changing the Clark, where it starts, Clark County Council unequivocally condemns violence in all of its forms. I would just go to unequivocally condemns political violence. And then I would, including the assassination of Kirk, and then I would remove gun violence in schools and communities. And I would also add in threats to elected officials and residents. I just don't think that that's needed. So if that makes sense, maybe I'll read the whole sentence. So, yep. So it would be the Clark County Council unequivocally condemns political violence in all of its forms, including the assassination of Charlie Kirk, period. That's it.
Just clarifying with that, with what I had suggested before, could we include the original phrase from Councilor Belcott that said Charlie Kirk is a national political and religious leader and advocate?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Councilor Belcott, how do you feel about this?
I don't agree. One of the other things that I failed to mention was also the county's employer of more than 17,000 people. That's completely unrelated as well to any of this. You know, I just want to say, you know, I was very grateful when some of the counselors decided that they did not want to get rid of the invocation along with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I would hope that my original direct, to the point resolution that I brought forward would be accepted.
Any other comments? Okay, what is the direction of the council? I would be in favor of bringing whatever final language we come up with to the October 14th meeting. That makes sense to me. Other thoughts?
I would hope we wouldn't delay on this. I just for the public, we meet once a week, so it's a part-time job, so we couldn't have approved that the next day. This is the meeting that we could approve something. So I would move to have a vote on passing the original resolution as suggested by Councilor Belcott.
I second.
Okay. How do others feel?
I feel like that this would be a chance to promote unity, and it's missing.
This is all about unity, what I brought forward. How's this not? It's talking about peace, unity, no violence. How is that unified? Not unified. I don't see how that's not unified.
I think that unfortunately the politics has come into this. To me, this is not about, I've said it before, it's not about one person, period. And I don't know why we should make it about one person only.
So George Floyd was one person.
And more than one person were mentioned in that resolution.
We have many resolutions where there's only one person or one subject
That
or
is okay.
thing that is mentioned. But for this one in particular, it can't just be one person that was assassinated and had the private citizen that had probably arguably the largest ceremony, wake service in the United States history.
To me, a human is a human. No life is worth less than any other.
That's not what I'm discussing. That's not what's discussed here. Not one person is better than another. I'm sorry that it's being politicized, unfortunately.
Okay, I am going to call on Councilor Fuentes.
Thank you, Chair. I think this entire council has been very vocal about condemning political violence, which has no place in our society. And again, I do thank Councilor Belcott for bringing this to our attention. However, I will not support the original resolution. I do support the modified version with some of the changes that were recommended by Councilor Young and Councilor Little. Yeah, that's it.
Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
My only suggestion in here is that we have a vote on the original one. If we did pass that, that doesn't limit us from creating other ones or more expansive ones or talk about school violence, which was the original thing that I was trying to add last week.
Okay, could you please sit down? This is not a time for public comment. This is not a time for public comment. This is not, I'm talking behind you. Okay.
Settle down. Relax.
Okay. So there was a motion and a second. So our recommendation, this will go to a council meeting on the 14th. Please do not interrupt. So all those in favor of the original resolution?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it'll move on to October 14th. Thank you.
Thanks, Council.
Just for clarification, we just passed a motion to pass the resolution. Oh, we
Final,
can't do that.
final action happens on Tuesday meetings.
Got it.
So
Okay.
does,
Thank
yeah.
you. I'm new. Thank you.
You can only use that I'm new. It'll expire here soon, I think.
After 6 months.
Okay, on to new business. I see our crew is up, ready to go. Railroad crossing at 122nd Street Quiet Zone project. And you've all received compliments from the public on how well you're doing. And I guess regrettable that it's taken this long, but please tell us what's up.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Council. For the record, Ken Lader, Public Works Director. With me today are Scott Sawyer and Paul Morin, both with our project management section. I would like to take a little liberty here for a minute and just recognize Scott Sawyer, who is retiring from our county service. Next Tuesday is his last day. And I just want to I want to compliment Scott. He's about as humble a person as you'd ever meet, but he came to us after a stint as the Public Works Director for Battleground. He's been an amazing addition to our team during a pretty big time of transition and need for public works, and he's really helped us to stabilize a lot of the work that was going on in the 179th Street corridor. And I can't say enough about his work. And we will miss him, but we certainly wish him well with all that is next. So
thank you for that. And Scott, all the best as you move into your retirement or whatever adventures come next. I know our paths crossed a number of times related to 179th, and you've always been professional, calm, and delivered accurate information. So best to you. Okay.
yeah, and fortunately, we have Paul with us to take over for some of Scott's work, and this happens to be one of those projects that Paul is helping us with. So Paul will be doing a presentation, and then you heard a little bit from some of the community members as far as the timeline we've dealt with. I'll speak to that a little bit at the end, but we won't dwell too much on the past. But I do want to offer certainly an apology for I think what are some missteps by Public Works in the past, and more recently, just a procedural error that we had with the UTC that set us back again. So we're here to really seek direction from council today. We've talked with you guys in one-on-ones about the project, but we'll run through that. Paul will run through that now, and I'll be available for questions. So.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Council. Paul Morin. I'm a project manager. Good. Okay. I don't have to hold it. Thanks, Scott. Gonna miss you, bud.
Yeah.
As we heard this afternoon already from some of the community members, this railroad crossing quiet zone, they've been advocating for over a decade to establish this. Originally, there was an engineering design prepared, which consisted of a mountable median system, also referred to as a quick curb design. An on-site diagnostic meeting was held with Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad, BNSF, Washington Utilities and Transportation Commission, the UTC, Clark County staff, and interested neighborhood stakeholders. The mountable median system was deemed acceptable by the Federal Railroad Administration as an alternative safety measure to discourage motorists from going around the existing railroad crossing signals arms, but required the submittal and approval of a petition to the UTC prior to the implementation of the quiet zone. On behalf of the property owners, a petition was submitted to the UTC. The BNSF Railway expressed their objection to the proposed mountable median system at this location and refused to sign the waiver of the hearing for the petition. BNSF expressed concerns about the elimination of train horns used to alert motorists and pedestrians of the train movements, given the ability for motorists to drive over the mountable median system, as well as the steep grades approaching the crossing on both sides. Limited lane widths and sight distances, dual track traffic, and the type of vehicle traffic at this location. BNSF also had concerns about blocking access to rail crew change areas on the north and south side of the crossing. Access to a rail crew change, In 2019, a hearing was scheduled to convene by the UTC to consider the petition for the quiet zone and to hear the concerns identified by BNSF. Prior to the hearing, county staff requested approval to work with BNSF to find a mutually agreeable alternative safety measure. Unfortunately, they were unable to agree upon a solution. As a result, Clark County withdrew their petition without prejudice and with permission to file a future petition to facilitate obtaining a quiet zone designation at the crossing. In 2024, the county resubmitted the petition to the UTC with the intent to complete the process once and for all. Once again, the BNSF expressed their objection to the proposed mountable median system, resulting in the UTC scheduling a hearing in September 2025 regarding the matter. In June 2025, a preliminary settlement hearing was held prior to the official hearing with the UTC and BNSF. BNSF identified the same concerns and included a procedural argument that the county's resubmittal of their petition failed to include another more recent diagnostic team discussion to attempt to obtain a consensus on record and amicable crossing modification plan which adequately accounted for the concerns they have about clearances, constraints, and other site conditions. During the settlement hearing, UTC staff sided with BNSF that a more recent diagnostic team discussion would have been appropriate prior to resubmitting the county's recent petition. On the next slide, you'll see current existing conditions. According to a recent crossing inventory, on average, there's 39 trains that traverse the crossing daily, including freight trains and passenger trains. Speed limits for trains traversing the crossing is 79 miles per hour for passenger trains and 60 miles per hour for freight trains. The average annual daily traffic crossing the railroad tracks is estimated at 660 vehicles. The next slide will show our preliminary design for the quick curb option. This has been done originally for our original petition. And then on the next slide, you'll see the BNSF option, which would require 2 additional gates be added. Current status, in July 2025, with the concurrence of the neighborhood representatives, county staff once again submitted a request to withdraw their motion for a hearing. The motion was granted by the UTC in early August. In anticipation of updating the county manager and county council regarding the status of this issue and requesting direction regarding support for moving forward with another diagnostic team meeting and the submittal of a third petition to the UTC, staff have updated the anticipated cost estimates for the quick curb center median option, and with the assistance of BNSF staff, the quad gate option. So the next slide will have the cost estimate for the quick curb, you'll see that the preliminary engineering cost has been, a lot of that has already been taken care of. And this cost substantially cheaper than the next slide will show the BNSF estimate there. So that concludes the presentation. Thank you, Council.
Chair, I have some questions.
Yes, please go ahead.
So at the beginning of the Arrow, was that 13 years ago? I know one of the speakers mentioned when they initially put a petition together, was that 2012?
That's correct, Councilor Belcott. Yeah.
And then maybe it was mentioned, but I guess I didn't catch it. Clark County withdrew their petition, and then basically with planning to file another. So I guess I'm trying, so it's basically like the difference in opinion of the railroads, Associated Railroads, that has held this whole thing up?
So the railroad owner there is BNSF, and they are definitely opposed to the crossing safety measures that have been proposed that were approved by the FRA as to condition the quiet zone. So that raised median, the quick curb that you saw, that was what was given to FRA as part of the quiet zone application that got the conditional approval to say if we were to build that, then it would meet the conditions of the quiet zone for safety, and then would be allowed essentially. FRA doesn't make that decision as far as what can be built for the crossing. That's a UTC petition that needs to occur. So that's why we're working with the UTC. So the quiet zone, it conditionally exists right now with that design that you saw.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions? Go ahead.
I'm just still confused on what is the ask for us? What do we need to approve? It sounds like we need to do it quick.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So the ask today is we're looking for direction from council to know if you would like us to proceed with the petition process for the community. So basically re-enter into the petition with UTC, do a hopefully what would be the final application. And we're looking for funding for that we haven't shown here, but we're estimating about $20,000 to follow through the application process and do any additional meetings. So that would cover the diagnostic review meeting that we are now told that we have to do in order to go through the petition process, and then to re-enter the petition and go through that process with legal and staff to get to the point where we could then have an approved project, which we would bring back to council for ultimate funding. And you saw the scenarios there as far as the range. That's the 350,000 versus 2.15 million. So does that help at all?
Thanks. I'm supportive.
I'm biased. It's my district, so I'm supportive.
Right. And just to clarify that BNSF has given the preliminary nod to this.
No, Chair. Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. So the petition is with UTC. BNSF is opposed to the crossing treatment that we've provided to support the quiet zones. So they will still oppose it. They have their reasons, and we can go into that. What our recommendation is, we would bring this back on a Tuesday for a separate business item, and we can discuss that. Then I can bring in the county engineer, and he can talk to you about it as well. But we can talk about the specific things that BNSF has brought up as opposition. However, we feel that this is a safe treatment for the crossing, and it is already supported by FRA as far as improving safety, so that the horns could be not used the way they are, and that the crossing would serve.
And UTC is
that's the Utility and Transportation Commission for Washington. Yeah.
How much does BNSF's opinion weigh on?
Great question. So And I think there are differing opinions about that, but my impression and from our discussions with UTC is it is a UTC decision. So their staff will work with both sides on the petition, listen to arguments. We certainly involve our legal staff, our PA's office in those conversations. But then they will bring a recommendation to the commission. The commission will make a decision that's final for whether to allow this construction activity at the crossing.
And what might the time frame be for all of that?
Great question. So it's not quick. I think it's an initial 30 to 60 days as far as the application process, but then likely another 6 to 9 months. Is that right?
Easy.
Scott? Yeah.
And then 6
yeah.
to 9 months.
The last process was at least 9 months.
Because it goes through an entire hearing schedule that's out into the future. And that's where, that's where my apology, I really want to make it, because had we done another diagnostic review, which would have been our third one in the timeline, we would have been able to continue with our petition that we had filed more recently.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
And so the 20,000 is to just move forward with that process.
Correct.
And we can't be 100% sure how it will turn out.
That's correct.
And then
Yep.
paying for whatever modifications are approved, that's on us, or is that BNSF?
I think no, it would either be, there are options, right? So it is eligible technically for the road fund. I've talked to the county engineer about this, so it could be a local road fund expense. Although I have to also say that he has let me know that this is definitely not a network priority for roads. It wouldn't raise to the level of a safety issue county-wide on our priority list. So spending that money from county roads would be a challenge. We could look at general fund expenditures. Obviously, that's got I don't have to look at Kathleen for that one. But I think that would be a bigger discussion if we got approval. And then I think also the community, is willing to do what they can, but that's a pretty big bill as well. So,
right.
So those are future conversations, but obviously there's an investment of staff time to get us to that point where we would know what we're up against.
So right now, we're just looking at the 20,000 and moving this process forward.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just want to underscore, when I look at the 79 miles per hour or 60 miles per hour for freight, the number of vehicles that cross there and the number of trains, and just knowing a little further north, the accidents that have occurred on the bridge across the Lewis River, this is a real safety issue.
I appreciate that. And I will still echo from our county engineer, as far as looking at safety countywide, this wouldn't rise probably on the radar there. As far as accidents at the crossing, that ADT is actually pretty low. This services just the private moorage at the end of the road.
Been there.
Yeah, so you know where it is and you're familiar with it, but that's not a huge traffic count for us. So.
Great. Well, I would be supportive of moving this forward and see where we get.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to understand, so there currently is or is not any issues of safety there?
So it's a good question. So right now, because this is a public crossing, even though it goes into a private area, the way that the gates are, they come down and block the approach lanes on either side, and someone could, do the S around and get through there. And because of that safety concern, I think that's what leads to the trains, BNSF making the decision to run their horns through the area. I might not have that exactly right, but that's my understanding. Please.
That is correct.
Okay,
There's currently guards
I
there
should
now.
probably restate my question. My question is, are these improvements needed simply to remove the horns from the train, or are they solving a safety issue that currently exists there today?
Yeah, good question. So I think the determination is pretty clear that there is a safety issue that exists, which is why the horns are blown. Because and so BNSF solution is put a double arm on that blocks the whole area so you can't get through. Obviously, that's a pretty expensive solution. This alternate solution with the quick curb, it puts that curb in there and bollards so you can't make those movements. So it absolutely increases safety for the crossing. And that's what the FRA determined when they reviewed the quiet zone application that came from the community with support of Public Works. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the score that the outside engineer came up with to show the safety improvements, the FRA came back and said, well, that's true, but it's actually a little bit higher than what you're even saying, if I remember from the report.
And that is correct. And if I can piggyback on what you're saying, I think the current situation with the existing guards and the horn that the train blows is considered a safe situation. If we want them to remove the horn, then it's not considered a safe situation without doing some other modification.
Okay, so for me, that's the biggest distinction here. You know, where does the $20,000 come from? Does that come from the road fund?
Originally we were talking about general fund, but there is an eligibility. It is eligible for road funds. So I think that's something that we can, when we bring this back on Tuesday, we will have that discussion. I'll have Jeremy here and we can determine, he and I maybe have a difference of opinion on it, but it's really up to council, honestly. If you guys are supportive of moving forward, we wouldn't, this is what the county engineer would say, having been in that role. We would not recommend it as a road local dollar expense. However, council does, because it doesn't rise to a priority on our system, but council has the ability and certainly the authority to make a decision to make that expenditure from the road fund if they so choose.
So I would say this, and I appreciate the efforts of the individuals that are trying to improve their living situation, but when it comes to me, the roads are there safety and to get people around. I don't think our dollars should be being spent to make residences more livable. It should be there to improve safety overall. I think I would potentially be supportive of, going through the process, but I don't believe that the county dollars should be used to fund this project. So I guess I would say if there's not another mechanism for funding, then I wouldn't support investing the $20,000 to move forward with it.
Thank you, Councilor Young.
Chair, I have a comment. This is right down the road from me. I'm very familiar with it because my kids ride their bikes down by there. So I'm very familiar. It is not, it's safe down there. So I understand all the surround, well, because it's in my district and it's literally right down the road from me. So I understand there's not a lot of safety issues associated with that area. It's low on the safety alert, I should say. But I've already said why I support it. Aside from it being my district, I'm familiar with it. So
then I would ask this, are you supportive of spending money from the general fund when we're having massive constraints and all the departments asking for help? Are you okay expending those dollars on a project that removes horns in a neighborhood?
I don't think that, didn't you say we couldn't fully determine yet what the funding source? It could be general fund or it could be something else.
I think that's absolutely up to council's discretion in this case. So, yeah.
Okay.
But the 20,000 gets us to a point where we know if anything is feasible or not. So any funding decisions would be made
It would get us,
following that. And that is what it sounds like a year from now.
that's correct, Chair. And that gets us to a point where we would have a final decision from the UTC on whether they approve of the crossing treatment. So,
Right.
yeah.
So I think at this point, we need 3 thumbs up to move, to provide you direction on where to go from here. And that would be at this moment, the 20,000 to go through that application process.
And I would just invite the public, if they want to provide more comment at that Tuesday meeting, but obviously that would be a great place to do that. And we will make sure the county engineer is here so we can have a discussion about the road fund. And
Great. And what Tuesday will that be? October? Or is that what we're looking at?
we haven't calendared this one yet, so but it would be a separate business item, I think. So is that
Yes, and this is just for the 20,000.
correct?
Yeah.
Right, right. And it'd be good for the commenters to be advised when that's going to be coming back to the council.
We'll make sure we do that.
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah.
Just one last comment. I feel like we should be identifying the funding first. If we don't identify the funding, we spend $20,000 and utilize staff resources, and there's no path towards a project.
And what will be before you will be, where is it going to be paid out of?
For the
20,000.
For the 20,000, but I think Councilor Young, you're talking about the project, the
Right.
construction
Yeah. If we
dollars
don't have
itself.
the project funds identified, then there's no sense in moving forward with the $20,000 worth of work.
And I hear what you're saying, and I would just say, I think that does have to be a discussion with county road staff and the county engineer as far as priority, so that can be expressed to council correctly as far as priorities on the system. He's already told me that this wouldn't rank high, we wouldn't get grants for it. So it's really local road dollars. However, council has the authority to make that decision independently of our priority array. So
Could there be other sources of funding outside of the council?
I think so. Yeah. I'm hearing
Okay.
a yes from the community. I don't know what those would be. So yeah.
So
It was about
if
300.
there is, if
350.
350.
if there is a source of funding aside from the roads fund, aside from the general fund, essentially if the
Yeah.
county's not funding that,
Yeah.
then I would be supportive of investing the amount of money that it takes
Understood.
to go through the study work, as long as it's funded elsewhere.
Well, there's some uncertainty of whether or not it's even feasible and where those sources of money will be. Councilor Fuentes, you want to say something?
Well, no. Well, yes. I get what you're saying as well. And I think that's what I'd like to know is, well, what is the likelihood of, if we move forward with the feasibility study, that we will identify a funding source for this project? Because I agree, Councilor Young, that if we cannot come up with a solution, a funding solution, then it doesn't make sense to move forward with $20,000 worth of a feasibility study. So is there any idea, County Manager Kathleen Otto, of where it might come from?
Not yet. And I'm only saying that because our budget submissions have just come in and we're scrubbing all of that data and numbers and seeing how anything would impact the 6-year forecast. So it's too premature for me to be able to tell you, yes, we have one-time funding in the general fund in the amount of $350,000 to support this, but possibly in the next few weeks.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm just getting the sense of the community being so interested in this that they probably chip in some money themselves. So I just wanted to say, if we have 3 thumbs, we should at least expend the 20,000 to get the process going. So I'm thumbs up.
I'm thumbs up as well.
I have one more comment. I was about to say the same thing, Counselor Little. I'm thinking if there's a will, there is a way with the community members. And I would personally chip in some money for this because my dog barks at those whistles. So I would be all in, and I think it would be a great project for the community if we can't figure out a way for the county to fund. So I'm a thumbs up.
And council, what I suggest, I can make sure that we take enough time before we come back before you with it to see if there are some options that we can bring to you during that separate business item. So Not too much time, but if that takes another week or so, then yeah.
Although there is a little bit of uncertainty, it sounds like there is a possibility, so I can support a possibility.
Okay, so that's to take a step forward, and it'll come to one of our council meetings with more information. No guarantee that the county has the ability to pay for what an ultimate solution. So I just want to caution your optimism out there. Yes, go ahead.
I'd like for us to acknowledge the community members who raise their hand because they probably want to ask a question or make a comment, but I guess want to let them know that part of this deliberation process does not include additional public comment to what you were allowed earlier today. So we thank you though.
Yeah. Please feel free to send your comments to us, and we're open to whatever you might want to say individually. Anything else?
No, thank you, Council.
Okay. Enjoy your retirement. Thank you.
Sure, I'm going to step away for 2 minutes to grab some notes for council reports in a moment.
Okay,
Thank
yes,
you.
that's fine. Okay. Next item is trust land transfer and Department of Natural Resources. Okay.
Good afternoon, councilors. For the record, I'm Kevin Tyler, Lands Management Division Manager with Public Works. And I'm here to speak with you today about a trust land transfer application for property that we call Little Baldy Mountain that falls within the perimeter of Camp Bonneville. And the following slides will provide a little more context. So I'm going to start with what is a trust land transfer. I know you met with some representatives of DNR recently and have heard all about trust lands. So the trust land transfer is a management tool used by the Washington Department of Natural Resources, DNR, to reposition trust lands to better serve the people of the state of Washington. In simple terms, the program allows DNR to transfer trust properties to other eligible entities, then have the legislature provide replacement funds for those properties, and then DNR can seek replacement property that they can more beneficially manage for the trust. Next slide, please. This table outlines the process for trust land transfer where someone nominates a parcel. Anyone can nominate a parcel, even the community. But there must be an eligible receiving agency who agrees to receive the property. DNR determines if the transfer request meets eligibility requirements, and then there's an advisory committee that evaluates those and prioritizes those nominations based on some criteria. They're presented to the Board of Natural Resources, who recommend to the Washington State Legislature, and the legislature makes decisions about these trust land transfers and which ones to fund in the next biennium cycle. So this application process would be for the 27 to 29 Washington biennium. Once a transfer occurs, then DNR receives funding to then buy a different property to replace the property that they transferred. Next slide, please. So that brings us to the topic. So in Public Works, we've been working on a trust land transfer application for property that's owned by DNR, but falls within the perimeter fence line of Camp Bonneville. The red line here shows the approximate location of the perimeter of Camp Bonneville. County property is blue, state property is green. So you can see there's a chunk of green inside the red perimeter fence line. The consent decree issued by Department of Ecology that governs the cleanup of Camp Bonneville states that property subject to the decree includes land owned by DNR that was formerly leased by the Army that's within the perimeter. These DNR properties are subject to the cleanup obligations and long-term obligations outlined in the decree. There was a finding of suitability for early transfer in support of transferring Camp Bonneville to the county. It mentions the DNR property will be remediated according to the decree. The Environmental Services Cooperative Agreement which is the agreement between the county and the Army that funds the cleanup, states that the area covered by environmental services includes DNR leased property. The Camp Bonneville reuse plan and memorandum of agreement between the Department of the Army and Clark County for early transfer of Camp Bonneville both reference DNR leased lands. These documents reference 820 acres owned by DNR and leased by the Army. In August of 2008, DNR transferred 640 acres to the county. That's sort of the northwest corner of what you see here in blue. And then in June 2009, DNR transferred another 40 acres. That's a little square close to where the green is that's inside the perimeter fence line. So that leaves about 140 acres unaccounted for that was not transferred back in 2009 when the other transfers occurred.
Chair, do you know the history of why they weren't included in previous transfers?
It's my understanding that it had to do with the mining of Livingston Mountain Quarry. So, which brings us to this slide here. This is the subject. You can see some blue and some pink property. Blue is State Forest Board Trust. Pink is school land. And there's approximately 135 to 140 acres that falls, that's part of Camp Bonneville that falls inside the perimeter fence line. The perimeter fence line is shown here with a line with X's along it. And just on the other side of the fence line, you can kind of make out what looks like a big pit. That's the Livingston Quarry. Next slide. So applications are due September 30th, and they require a signature by someone in the county with the authority to accept the property. The application also requires a letter of intent. So the purpose of today's meeting and this topic is to seek council's support before submitting that application, and that Kathleen would sign the application and the letter of intent. That there's no guarantee that this transfer application would result in a transfer. And if there is a transfer that does come, that deed would come before council to approve before accepting it. We also presented this to the Property Management Committee, who were in support of seeking the trust land transfer application. So that's essentially the gist of the presentations today, and seeking your support and also looking to answer any questions that you may have.
Yeah, I think you mentioned this, but I didn't hear it. And that is, if this land is transferred, you were saying DNR can purchase other land to make up for that loss. Who funds that?
The Washington State Legislature. So it comes out of the Washington budget. I'm not sure the exact location in the Washington budget, but it's part of that budgeting process.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Questions? Comments?
Yeah, just one quick comment that, we typically with something like this, we would run it by the Property Management Committee for Kathleen as the manager, because she does have the authority to sign this type of agreement. Obviously, for public transparency, we wanted to bring this before council and give a chance for public comment in case there was any. So
I appreciate that. Anything related to Camp Bonneville, there's high interest in the community. All right. Well, this sounds great to me. Other thoughts from the council? Thumbs up. Move ahead.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot. Okay. All right. Moving on to councilor reports.
Sure, I usually don't have anything. Thanks, Councilor Fuentes. I do have a council report this week that's related to Ken Latter. Actually, I'm just going to read my speech. It has to do with the Salmon Creek mural, Ken. Yeah, so this past Saturday, Philida resident Vicki Holman approached Public Works recognizing a need to beautify our community by painting a mural over a 4,000 square foot retaining wall that was often tagged with graffiti. Vicky envisioned a mural promoting and celebrating healthy streams. Ken Latter, the county's public works director, saw multiple benefits to the project: graffiti abatement and the opportunity to promote clean water messaging, which demonstrates how public works responds to community needs. Ken assigned the project to Eric Lambert, Clean Water Outreach Manager with Public Works Community Engagement Team, and Vicky and Eric worked together to refine the mural vision to feature fish painted by volunteer artists swimming upstream with clean water messaging promoting stewardship. Public Works was thrilled to work with Vicky and more than 50 volunteer artists, dozens of volunteers and staff from many different Public Works division to make that vision a reality. Under the direction of local mural artist Anna Gabriella, the mural was recently completed last week and includes an anti-graffiti coating. I just want to thank Ken and Eric for considering my idea when I approached them with Vicky's idea, because she's in my neighborhood and goes to my neighborhood association meetings. And it was so cool to do the ribbon cutting with Ken and Vicky this past Saturday. The mural is awesome. I explained and spoke about it a couple different times during that day that I'm literally up and down that road multiple times a day with my kids, going to different sports activities or picking them up from school. So it was such a cool project. And if any of you have any time to check it out, because it's right across from Klein Line as you go into the park, it's super cool.
Thank you, Councilor Belcott, and thank you, Ken. I drive by that too, and it is really beautiful. It's worth a trip out there. Other councilor reports?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And Chair, both you and I participated in a conversation with Columbia River Economic Development Council, or CREDC, yesterday. So if you'd like to chime in, please do so. Yes, but I'll start. Yes, I'll start it off. Yes, as I mentioned, we met with CREDC, Julia, the new operations director of operations, and the reason we had this conversation is because back in February, their annual contract as an associate development organization, which the county has selected as an organization that serves as a local hub for economic development and is the primary contact for Washington State Commerce here in Southwest Washington. Their contract was due. It wasn't renewed. It was put off for a few months. In addition, this council has expressed interest in wanting to understand what the value was in continuing this relationship and the contract with CREDC. The contract is for $100,000 a year, if I'm not mistaken. They are asking for 110. They are scheduled to come to a work session November 5th, which they will do so. But they wanted to do a kind of brief presentation to both the chair and I to see if we can move along the approval of the contract a little bit sooner before the November 5th work session. And I just wanted to kind of point out a couple of points that they shared with us yesterday and the impact that they have in Clark County as an ADO. One of those is CREDC has helped generate $1.68 billion in business-to-business activity over the last 4 years, has secured almost 4,000 jobs through 42 projects, has stood in high-quality resources to build capacity for 200 public vendors, has stewarded the Clark County Economic Development Plan, and has delivered, although most of us have not seen it, the inventory of employment production supporting that, which the council also supported through a $50,000 contribution back in April of this year, if I'm correct.
Yes, it was 50,000.
50,000. Thank you. I had a chance to sit in on an executive presentation for the inventory employment production supporting or report, which again, they will bring forward to the council. So we have a chance to get a high level overview and ask any questions. So what I'm asking for today is that because this contract was due in February, we haven't signed it yet. They shared with us some of the value that they provide the county year after year as an ADO. And I'd like for us to consider approving the $110,000 request from CREDC at the next council session. Chair, is there anything that you wanted to add?
Well, I have questions about the budgeting process and what was allocated and those things. But just to the briefing that we received, one thing I didn't really connect was the importance of that associate development organization and our designation of CREDC. With that, it enabled them to become Apex Accelerator, which I didn't understand that connection, but that connection helps local businesses access government contracts. It only started in 2023, and that enabled them to bring in 24 million in the last couple of years to support that. So I think we all agreed it'd be worthwhile for CREDC to come and communicate with the council maybe on a more regular basis. So anyway, it was good, positive meeting, and I think I'm certainly supportive of continuing funding them. But go ahead, Councilor Belcott, and then the county manager can explain the process.
I have a couple of comments. I think this is good because I think, are you still on their committee, the CRDEC? Okay, so you switched. Okay, yeah, I didn't see much come out from them. And honestly, I wasn't very impressed by their Chalachi Railroad study that they produced to the council. I think now it's been like maybe 4 years ago now. I didn't think there was a lot of detail that was associated with that or justified. I just kind of felt like it was a bunch of fluff and stuff for what jobs the railroad could bring based on what they produced to us. So I think this is good.
Okay,
Yeah.
Other comments? Go
Okay.
ahead.
No, I just was going to add although I don't have the employment production land use study in front of me, I sat in a presentation and it looks like it's very detailed, very interactive. You can drill down on certain areas, not just within the UGA, but also outside of the UGA. And so I think there's a lot of value to eventually seeing that, which will help inform decisions for the future.
Kathleen, where are we at with the contract? Because I know we have set aside routinely 100,000 for CRDC.
So there is, so there is 100,000 in the 2025 budget. And council probably members on end of August during councilor report, actually it was during policy updates, Jordan talked about the contract. And at that time, because the employment land study, we had no information on that. And council had directed at that point to not support the contract until the work session was had with CRDC so that they could share what they've done. And it sounds like what your meeting was yesterday with them. So we do have the money in the 2025 budget for 100,000, which is what we paid in the past. And if council supported moving this contract forward, we can put it on a Tuesday meeting.
Okay, so we don't have to wait till the work session. The work session we still want to have.
It's up to council. It was your direction to not move forward with the contract until the work session.
I'd be in favor of moving it forward sooner.
And then just really quick, because I do sit on the executive board and the board of directors for CREDC, I do have to recuse myself from any vote. But I will add one more thing, and I think Councilor Belka brought that up, that they weren't very good at communicating with us what they were doing. And that's one of the stipulations that we made yesterday is we'd like for them to come to council on a regular basis, preferably before the contract needs to be signed. Actually, no, before the contract needs to get signed, so that it helps inform our decision moving forward. But I am recusing myself from the vote.
So I'm just trying to clarify here. So you're wanting us to approve money to fund the contract next week?
He is recusing himself.
Right,
but
yes.
I am.
Yes.
It would be October. It would be on a Tuesday meeting, October 14th.
And so then the work session that we have in October, right? November
5th
would be looking at informing next year's decision.
Well, it would be informing them of what the work they're doing and how our 100,000 contributes toward that, and it would inform next year. And I'm thinking we'll get the land study information as well. So I think multiple reasons to have that work session.
Yeah. One of the other things, Councilor Young, that we did request as well, because they had to drill down, was the economic impact in Clark County within the urban growth area. So we wanted to kind of understand, what that looks like on a more detailed level.
Generally speaking, I mean, I definitely agree with EDCs and what they're able to accomplish. A lot of times they leverage the money they get and they bring a lot more into the community. But communication has been an issue, and that definitely does need to improve. So I would support bringing it forward next week.
They are in search of a new, I want to say executive director might be the official title. And they'll have one in place January. And so I think it's a good time to have a conversation with the new ED and set those expectations.
Thoughts? Go ahead.
100,000 or 110? Which one are we talking about?
Well, we budgeted for 100,000.
Okay. Yeah, I would be hesitant to do anything more if we have these concerns.
I believe they asked for 110 because of inflation, but what's budgeted is $100,000 at this point for this fiscal year.
Would we, and normally we would have done this in February.
Yeah, we have not received a lot of communication with them
Right,
at all.
right.
And I know Jordan followed up as well about the employment land study. And I believe, Jordan, it was either crickets or you don't have anything. So they did not reach out.
Well, when we talked about this in August previously at a council time, and council had previously given direction to wait on doing anything with the contract until after the work session, we hadn't heard anything else yet about the industrial land study. As Councilor Fuentes mentioned, there was a smaller presentation of an initial version of the industrial land study that happened earlier this week. And so I think they're pretty close to having a releasable version of that report. As Councilor Fuentes mentioned, it is interactive. And so that will, I think, be part of the conversation when CREDC comes in November for their work session.
Okay, so are there 3 thumbs up to move this forward to the October 14th council meeting?
Is that just their work for them to bring their work session to talk to us, not to approve the
It's
contract?
the actual contract for 100 or 110. The work session is still scheduled and we'll move forward.
I'm a no.
Okay.
I've asked them things in the past and I got no response.
Okay. So was there 3?
What is the alternative to no?
I think it's the alternative is wait and get a presentation in November 5th.
I think I'd go for that.
Question for you: is there any extenuating reasons why this is kind of being asked of us now as opposed to waiting until after
Well, I
the work
think
session?
it should have been asked of us in February, it seems to me. And I know they've experienced some cuts and reduced staff, like a lot of organizations have. It's a small shop. That's not to excuse them not answering our questions when they've come up. But my sense was that if they could get the money sooner, that would be helpful. So given that, I think there may only be 1 thumb up at this point for signing the contract sooner than later. And then if we have the work session in November, how quickly can the contract be turned around?
The following council meeting.
So that would be 2 weeks later?
Well, we've got some holidays in there.
Holidays in there, I know.
Probably the 18th of November.
18th of November.
A little bit over.
And then they could theoretically come back in to go back to their annual
I would hope
contract.
that they would send a draft contract before the end of the year so we actually can consider
Okay,
it.
so
for
that
the
was
following year.
okay. Okay, so it's sounding like my sense from you all is that we'll wait till after the work session and make a decision on this.
Yeah, and one just question, Jordan, I don't know if you remember, on the current contract, was that a 2-year contract or was that a 1 year? Do you happen to remember?
I would need, I believe it's a 2-year contract
Yeah.
that expired at the end of
Sure.
last year.
So I guess that
if I'm
would
remembering.
be, maybe we can have that discussion after the work session if council wants to entertain a 1 or a 2-year contract. And so if it was a 2-year contract, it would be for 25 and 26, or just do 25 and then look at moving forward.
Great. Okay. Well, we'll make those decisions in the future. Okay.
Chair,
Well,
just
yes,
real
go
quick
ahead.
too. You know, I respect your decision to recuse yourself, but I really don't see that as being necessary. And the reason being, it's not that you're a member of the board on your own accord. You've been assigned that seat by the council itself, and I would appreciate you being on that board. You have a lot more understanding of how things work there, and I think it would help us in our deliberation making that decision. So unless you check with legal and they suggest that you recuse yourself, I would ask that you participate.
Yeah, I've not checked with legal, and I assume because you're right, I'm appointed by the council, right? And so it's not something that just kind of happened. And so and legal's not here today. Oh, she is. Oh,
She may need to look into it, but Chris Cook was online.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So well, as of now, I mean, it doesn't sound like we're going to move forward to speed up the process to disperse the funds and sign the contract. And so we'll check to see if it's something that I can continue to be able to vote for or against in the future.
Okay.
Thank you, then.
It's a good question because I know I've recused myself in the past because I've served on it's North Country EMS, and there was a funding decision related to them because boards of directors have a fiduciary responsibility to those organizations that they serve. So it would be good to get some clarification there. Okay, I have a
Chris has her.
oh, pardon me.
Chris has her hand raised.
Okay, Chris, I don't see anything.
Yes, hello, thank you. I think it's appropriate for the counselor to recuse himself.
Okay, thank you.
How he got there is not as much a question as whether he is there. He is on the board, and as a board member has an obligation to act in the interests of that organization. And if there is any distinction between the interests of that organization and the county's interests, that makes it appropriate to recuse.
Okay, thank you. I just have a quick council report. I attended the Clean Water Alliance celebration for the completion of their Phase 5 expansion of the Salmon Creek wastewater plant. And John Peterson, if you've not met John Peterson, he is such a resource for this county, and the complexity and the growth that we've experienced. We had the opportunity for him to present decade by decade what has gone on with wastewater in the county. And it's a fundamental, important part of our infrastructure that he just takes care of all of the details related to that. And decade by decade, there's been a large phase expansion, and it takes about 10 years from start to finish for that to happen. So as soon as he's finished this one, he's going to be on to doing the next phase expansion. And, you can measure our growth in gallons of wastewater that are discharged every day. And in the 70s, it was 2 million gallons a day. And then just zooming up to today, it's 17.5 million gallons a day. And I just want to point out, just related to our growth, the 90s were especially challenging because we doubled the number of gallons per day, and it was hard to keep up. It was hard to keep up. And there was a building moratorium. So without that infrastructure, we don't have the ability to grow. So I just wanted to underscore the importance of the work that they do. And I'm sure that John Peterson would be happy if anyone would like to take a tour of the treatment plant. Counselor Medvegy and I spent 3 hours there one afternoon. So it's a fascinating thing. So I just wanted to share that. And also, by the way, Ecology gave the wastewater treatment plant the Outstanding Performance Award for 2024. So they just deserved a shout out for all of that. That's all.
Sure.
Yes.
I have 2 short updates. One of them is a work session request. Is that for the next section, or can you do that in a counselor report?
I think you can do it now.
Okay.
That's when we have something prepared for a council meeting is when.
Okay. The first one is just related to one of the resolutions that we did yesterday. There's kind of a quiet request for a memorial wall for victims of homicide, and they were looking for a property to put it at. And I was just curious if anybody knew. To me, it sounds like where you'd want to put it in a population center, so it might be more appropriate for city property. But I was just curious if anyone knew if they have a formal ask to us, or if they have any progress on finding a place for that, and if we have any role. Anybody know anything? Okay, I was just wondering if one of our staff could reach out and just ask what the status of that is, and if we can help in any way. It seemed like
Asking for us to find property.
just to find out what their ask is and what their needs are, and if they are coordinating with the right people. I just wanted to make sure it was connected, because it kind of sounded like they were asking us for help, but it wasn't formalized or anything.
It wasn't formalized, so I think it'd be good to reach out to NW Cave and see if they had anything in mind, or get more specifics and see if they really do have a request of us.
Okay, we do need
Sure.
to
We'll find out more information. Yep.
I'm certainly happy to look into that a little bit. In fact, I was, thinking about it when they had mentioned that it would be great if we did have a parcel. But I will say, if we do have something that we don't need for a specific purpose, it's probably not going to meet the criteria really needed to be a functional site for them. It's going to be one little sliver of land out in the middle of nowhere that has no egress, things like that. But if somebody's aware of something, then yeah, let's take a look at it.
Yeah, my guess is they would be open to at an existing facility or in front of a building or someplace prominent. My other request is related to yesterday as well, when we were talking about integrated pest management strategies. And it sounded like there is enough interest in having a work session so that we could learn more about the types of herbicides like Roundup that are used, how to minimize, or if there are alternatives to glyphosate, if I'm saying that right. And then would just like to have more information on how and where it's applied, so that we can see if we can make any improvements. So that would be my request for a work session.
I'll second that.
I'd be supportive as well.
Is this something that council would like before the end of the year? Because you're getting like 3 work sessions a week right now. So I
think we can wait till
Yeah,
the new year.
I agree.
Thank you.
We're big on work sessions.
I'll still send you, because they did mention about a policy that's already in place regarding that. So I'll at least send that information to you before, but we'll have that scheduled next year.
Kathleen, when's the last week for work sessions this year?
The
December.
the last week of November.
Okay.
Maybe the first week of December. We have the budget hearing that first 3 days or 2 days. We may have something on that Wednesday, but normally we don't.
Okay. And then, thank you.
Okay, anything else from counselors?
Sure.
Yes.
I was waiting for you. Both you and I attended the Arts Commission. I can't remember the title of the event. Do you recall? A festival, yes, on the front courtyard of the Public Service Center. It was a pleasure to be there. Unfortunately, I had a screaming headache and was not in the best ability to enjoy what was taking place.
And the band was
The
loud.
band was loud, which normally I would probably enjoy, but not when you have a headache. But it was great to see the space activated and see people out there enjoying the arts in all of its different forms. So appreciate the Arts Commission and the work that they put into that event. And hopefully people will hear about it and more will come and visit next year.
Great. All right. Moving on to work session requests. We've already had one. Any others? Should I move on quickly to the next item? Okay, policy updates. Jordan.
Good afternoon, counselors. Not much for you today. Just one thing I wanted to highlight is that the state of Washington just recently got their revised revenue estimates for the next several biennia. The top line takeaway is that the revenue estimates are now about $900 million less over the next 6 years versus what they were in the June forecast. And so just a note that as we look ahead to the legislative session to come, there are going to be a lot of challenging budget questions to be resolved. And we may be looking ahead to playing defense for existing funding if some of these trends and uncertainties continue. So just something for us to keep in mind as we're working on our legislative priorities for next session.
Okay, thank you. Is that it? All right.
That's all.
Thank you. No executive sessions, I see. So we've completed our agenda, and without objection, this meeting is adjourned.